Riot Games has just made an offer to ex-CEO Simon Hypixel to buy back Hytale, and he's live tweeting it. This is unheard of, a make or break moment we've been building to since cancellation has arrived sooner than we all expected. He said the offer Riot has made is, quote, 10x what the true market value is, and that he has just made his final counter offer back to them, quote, the only chance to see Hytale, he says. I'm going all in. This is the timeline. Let's go. Starting off, this confirms a number of things to us. One, Riot is willing to sell the game. Offers are happening. It's not been shut down immediately. Riot selling is now a very likely possibility. It's just a matter of price. Two, the deal is clearly moving very quickly, with this being Simon's counter offer to Riot's counter offer to, well, Simon's initial offer. So many people were certain Riot wouldn't even entertain the thought. Meanwhile, they've already gone back and forth multiple times, and Simon is already prepared to call it his final offer. We're already in the end game. This means Simon sent his letter of intent to buy Hytale with his initial price weeks ago, which he confirmed is the case in this tweet here, and that after this offer, a decision is going to be reached. He even mentioned back in June that he would ensure a clause in the letter of intent that lets him talk about this deal publicly, and you know, sure enough, here he is doing that exact thing. All in, locked in was the tweet that he started the thread with to tease people, by the way. I swear, this guy. To be fair, that's also a description of the mentality he has towards getting this game back. That is obvious to you now, I hope. His confidence is off the charts in all of these tweets. He's very serious about doing this. Going back to Riot's offer, he says they asked way more for Hytale than what he offered them to begin with, and that makes sense. That's how negotiations work. He underballs, they overball, and then they meet in the middle. But honestly, Simon has so much leverage in this deal, it's not even funny. He talks about this as he continues, quote, Riot has no team. No one can even start or compile the game anymore. I hired most people who could and will continue to do so in the coming days. Hytale is for the players, by the players. In previous tweets I've covered, Simon spoke about exactly this, interviewing ex-devs and bringing on more people to his team in preparation for getting Hytale. That's how confident he is with this thing, and rightfully so, because there really is no other team. Like, who's gonna buy this game that can't launch or be played? Is Riot going to keep it internally and work on it themselves? They just fired a team of 150 they helped build who couldn't manage that dream. Is 100 million more in debt plus 5 more years of development really worth the risk? Simon's team, Arcanite, is made up of a lot of the major developers who were with Hytale from the start, but slowly left the project over time. He's been collecting them like Infinity Stones in the background, initially to make a new game, but now, coincidentally, in perfect preparation for this moment. The only team up for the task right this second. His vision does reset a lot of what we were expecting Hytale to be on launch, but his version of this game is going to be built with the community, hand in hand, focused on modding and servers, much more, and ensuring we have something in our hands within a year. He's even confirmed he wants it to be open/shared source. He really means built with the community. Simon has stood against almost every bad decision that was made by Hypixel Studios. He's standing with the people. He has the funding to develop the game. He has the roadmap to get the game to the public quickly, and he has a plan to monetize early on in order to continue funding for years to come. In fact, he said he sees this as a 10-year project. No wonder he is so optimistic. In response to this exact thought, he even says he thinks his, quote, counter offer is a bit too much. So whatever happens, I'll either be relieved or excited. Optimistic is right. So in this counter offer he's now made, he actually thinks he's paying too much for the IP, but is still willing to spend that money knowing it will convince Riot to sell. He continues, I'm actually offering more to prevent a delay that would permanently vault this game. The last thing we want is for them to start thinking they can do it themselves and cancel again in a couple of years under a completely different vision, like what just happened. A user said in response, I can't even imagine the amount of disconnect it would take Riot to see us all rallying behind one guy and think, oh, we can just yoink that real quick. But Simon clarified, some decision makers aren't aware of the Save Hytale movement. That's all you need to know. Some people in the game industry don't subscribe to Kweebec Corner to help him reach 100,000 subscribers, play games, or look at X or Reddit at all, so it makes sense. I had to adjust myself and start talking a universal language money. I may have added a little bit there, by the way. Now, in regards to money, some of you may be thinking we're talking about 25 million here as his offer, but I want to remind you this isn't the case. The 25 million Simon pledged for Hytale, he later clarified was intended for the development of the actual game for years to come. The money for the IP would be a separate matter, as it's much more complicated than just handing over cold hard cash. He very likely pitched them a lower offer because guess what? Cancelled IPs aren't really worth much. Every day they're cancelled, their value decreases even more, and this is bad for both Simon and Riot. It's in their mutual benefit to settle this deal quickly for the sake of both parties saving time and money. Yes, Riot probably spent over $100 million on Hytale's development, but that does not make it worth that much now. A huge portion of that value came from the team itself, and a huge chunk was also investment debt hoping to be regenerated through selling stuff in Hytale after launch. The actual IP alone is likely much closer in value to the tens of millions in Riot's eyes. So if we were to assume they are being reasonable, they probably offered something below 50, 40 million, but still a high price because again, that's how negotiations are. We know Simon wants the IP and just the IP with no partnership that involves Riot whatsoever. He clarified that recently. He wants 100% control of this if he does get it, he says. That way no one can stop him releasing an early access version. Simon says that the market price Riot believe Hytale to be at is 10 times what he thinks it is, so starting at 30 to 40 million and working backwards, that would suggest Simon's initial offer was close to 3, 4, or maybe 5 million. That might sound cheap compared to the $100 million cost so far, but as we've seen, the value has indeed dropped. Remember, Simon is playing negotiator here too, or at least his lawyers are. This figure is likely a lowball offer to try and pull Riot down a bit from their pedestal before they provided their first figure, which we now know was 10x Simon's total. The key here is in the wording of his tweets. Surely this suggests he knows he's done enough, that he has an idea of their sweet spot or the price that will make them start to turn their heads more, and likely he overshot it intentionally to make sure he gets it. For him to even know that and be confident enough to tweet that, it would also mean Riot probably considered the first offer quite a lot. But obviously taking his first offer would again not be good for business. They have to haggle, it's quite literally part of the game, hence their 10x price tag. The fact that this has already happened and Simon has even put in another offer, a final offer now, means he wants things to be definitive. Likely because if Simon offered any more, as stated in this tweet here, he wouldn't be able to hire as many of the old devs back full time and fully fund the game for as long. I don't know if he's locked in for 10 mil, 12 mil, or 20 mil with this new counter offer, but either way, he seems aware that he's locked in an amount that would make Riot happy. Despite him, taking a big L to ensure an offer like this appetizes Riot. He's taking no risk here, he's trying to play it safe by giving them what they want, just a formal 1-2, 1-2, shake hands, and be done hopefully. How long will this take to confirm exactly? Well, these first offers passed back and forth pretty quickly, and Simon says, quote, "The last 2 times I negotiated with Riot in 2018 and 2019, it lasted a couple of months, so it's always a long process. This is my 3rd time." Of course, here referring to the initial sale of Hytale to Riot Games back when the trailer was released. When one user said Simon is the only person who can do it, he said, honestly, yes, it requires an indie setup, money, ex-devs, and an understanding of the original vision. Plus, not to forget, a reset of expectations that allows a quick release to get the community on board as soon as possible to make content. Anyone else would just slap the IP on their project and claim it as Hytale, only for the true experience to be long forgotten. The engine rewrite was a massive mistake. I mean, look at reality. The game got cancelled. Another user then claimed, "I don't think rewriting the engine was a mistake. The idea was to reach a wider audience since the new engine was lightweight enough for multiple platforms. I believe the flaw was actually the pursuit of perfection. They didn't want to release something unfinished." And Simon followed up, "The rewrite reached a grand total of 0 players at the end of the day. You are right that it was capable of multiple platforms, but it also came with a new vision and a new design, something many people aren't that aware of. The trailer was simple. We didn't want to be Roblox 2.0 while doing Fortnite events, while also redoing all of the gameplay features just for the sake of perfection," which is totally fair. We're all very aware of how the vision for Hytale started to snowball, how they had to reduce scope much more in the last few years. We were aware of that as a community. Speaking of being aware, if you're worried about Simon's earlier comments about some of the Riot people not being aware of the movement in the community, the hashtag Save Hytale, that this means all the effort by the internet, Reddit, and thousands of players have been in vain for the last few weeks, Simon says the initiative of fans to start this movement really has helped in ways people won't expect. The community, fan art, Save Hytale hashtag, and WPlace, which we'll talk about in in a moment, made me feel more comfortable going all in, risking it all, knowing I might have an audience to support the game later on in darker times. I'll be honest, this is beyond risk. It makes absolutely no sense for me financially at all, none. Having spoken to multiple ex-devs to get an idea of the assets and what is in the engine he's buying here, he said it is a bad financial decision for him, which, you know, also does make it a great deal for Riot. He continues, some people buy small town movie theaters knowing they'll probably lose money, but they like the idea of running a cinema. Some others buy old arcades or retro game shops. These are usually passion projects that might not turn a big profit, but they're worth it for the personal enjoyment. That's how I see Hytale going forward. When asked if he was allowed to talk about all of this publicly, he reminds us that it was the public who bullied him into doing the deal in the first place, so it's only right we come along for the ride. He does acknowledge that this kind of unpredictable, chaotic, and quick communication can get people a little bit nervous, but he himself is enjoying it, and I for one can say the same. Circling back quickly to the counteroffer he's putting into Riot Games, he was asked if offering more for the game than he initially did would tip off Riot in some way for it being more valuable, and Simon hit them with an actually, stating if Riot properly investigates, they'll actually realize he's overpaying for Hytale, which he did state earlier, but if they watch internal overhyped presentations, they'll think they can fix it themselves. So here's hoping money really does talk here. I'll let the community speak for themselves, by the way, in terms of their reactions, because as you imagine, this caught fire. Everyone was and still is watching. People went berserk when he posted these few tweets, stayed up all night and watched deep into the next day. Even though this happened close to midnight in the US, there was still plenty of VCs happening, Reddit posts being spammed all about the news. This all just came as well after WPlace started going viral, basically a pixel template that spans a map of the world where people can place a limited amount of pixels every now and again. Unlike Reddit's rPlace, WPlace has taken a bit of a while to get off the ground, but the Brazilian Hytale community were hard at work from day one. Spotting an opportunity, they got the whole community together to create a giant Save Hytale Kweebec art above Riot Games headquarters in LA, and, well, above a lot of LA too. This was actually commented on by the channel Tech Linked in his recent video, plus it was tweeted about by Brody Fox, the creator of the Yo Mama YouTube channel. Honestly, you've had a bunch of people who used to cover this game coming out of the woodwork to express their readiness now. Everyone is showing up for this all or nothing moment. The memes are thick and the coffee is on tap. What's crazier about all of this as well is that I've had to skip an entire video that I had planned because of just how big today's news is. Simon has tweeted over 100 more times since my last video, talking about what Hytale will be if he gets it, and now that that is much more likely than ever, we need to cover that vision. The Hytale we will get to play. As for the old Hytale offices, they are closing as this new era of Hytale begins, with ex-developer Shiolto, a fond member of the team we've all grown close to in the community, saying final farewell to the place, handing over her keys and giving one last high five to the giant Kweebec statue outside, as has become tradition with the staff and visitors to this place. Again, the next video will cover everything Simon has tweeted about the uncancelling of Hytale since the cancellation of Hytale. So stay tuned, subscribe, watch the video on screen, stay safe, and keep free.
Gee willikers, Mr. Man.